Hi folks, we're in the Cobb TV studio for our weekly visit with Cobb Commission Chairman Mike Boyce. And Chairman, as we sit here, we're one of three so far. We've
Right.
gotten through one of the three public hearings on our budget and millage rate.
Yeah, listen, without a chance of poking the bear here, found it interesting that, look, we all remember what happened last year, when we went to that millage rate discussion, and the amount of turnout we had to discuss the pros and cons of the proposed millage rate and the associated budget. I think it's indicative that on Tuesday morning when we had our first public hearing, that even with the state law defining what a tax increase is, all right, with the danger of also bringing something up, but I think we got to be open and have frank discussion about this, because if you do raise your taxes, you have to discuss it, and you got to tell them why you're proposing that, and then you have to defend it. But there's nothing to defend here, because the definition by some former legislator of a tax increase, if you don't roll it back, and that's only because you brought in more revenue than you did the year before, and in order not to have that defined as a tax increase, you have to go roll it back, which just makes no sense to me, because it doesn't take into account that this year the homestead and floating exemption leaves $41 million in the wallets of the taxpayer, of the homeowner. $41 million in the home, in the wallets of the homeowner, because they qualify for the exemption, and that's up from $28 million last year. So just think about that. Even though we raised the millage rate last year, we're still leaving $13 million more in the wallets of the homeowners this year, because they qualify for the floating and homestead exemption. The second thing is that you can't have both. We all know from the town halls that I did in March and the succession of board hearings, that the issue from the constituency this year, the people this year, was we need to pay our police, fire, and sheriff more. You can't possibly do that and roll back the millage rate. And I hear all this stuff about, well, we have to roll it back and we can find those savings somewhere else. I'm happy to have that discussion if somebody would tell me one program that's going to bring me, the additional money that we need to pay our fire, police, and sheriff more money. And I've not heard that yet. So while I encourage people to have a discussion, and obviously in this forum you're going to have a difference of opinion, how about bringing some facts to the table? And what I bring to the table is a budget we've been working on since Christmas time. All the commissioners have seen it. They've had the opportunity to sit down with it, and we're still have two more opportunities for them to engage. But I think it's also important to realize that this late in the game, if you're going to start pulling things out of the budget and rearranging them, you have the danger of buying a car with three tires, because you don't fix a full $170 million budget, in 10 days. If you're going to be making major changes around there, you run the risk of really damaging the budget, and then doing things that you don't see the consequence for, because you didn't allow yourself the time to see all the impact of making changes. There's been ample time for the commissioners to look at this budget and come to a decision as to whether or not this is something that meets the requirements that the people express they want. And I believe this budget does that. So we have a night meeting on Tuesday at 6:30, and then we have the third public hearing on the night of July 23rd, which is a normal board meeting, for the third hearing. And I encourage people to come out, but my sense is, looking at emails, going out and talking to people, the board meetings, is that I'm firmly believing, this is an opinion, but I think that once people heard that I am not proposing, my budget does not propose a millage increase, they're happy with that, as they're happy with the services that we promised we would deliver to them if they gave us more millage last summer. And from the libraries being open 6 days a week now, to the grass and the meetings being cut, the garbage being picked up, the fact that your Board of Elections has more employees, we've been able to hire more police officers. Precinct 2, which has had its issue of public safety issues, not because of the people that are there, but because people from the outside come into the county and create problems there. That precinct's going to get 9 brand new police officers out of the next graduating class of policemen. That's a reflection that we, in fact, put more money into the budget to hire more police officers next year. We bought more police cars. We were buying more body cameras. I think that people see all the stuff that we've done with that money, as we said we're going to, and I think they realize that we're finally getting to a standard that reflects the quality of life that they want, and we're committed to doing that. And I do not need to have, or do I do need to propose a budget that increases the millage rate in the future, because the tax digest, because of the growth we're getting from the business community, we're bringing those additional tax revenues to do all of this.
If there's one theme that you could have gotten from the first public hearing, it's really that there's a lot of, not really confusion, but people are struggling just to understand the budget and the budget process, which is several hundred pages long. What do you tell those people who really seem to want to, they have some misconceptions about what's in the budget, they want to learn more, but struggle with doing that?
Well, the first thing is, you're not going to make a soundbite out of a budget that's probably 200-300 pages long, all right? You can't have openness and transparency and then compress all those figures into 10 pages. If you want complete openness and transparency, that requires a very detailed product. And that's why that budget document is so thick. Look, I know it's only a document that someone like me would love, all right? Because I did budgets in the Pentagon and elsewhere. But you're just not going to be able to deliver a summary product in a way that's going to meet everybody's satisfaction. So we're going to be looking at trying to simplify the delivery of that at the meeting on Tuesday night. But you run the danger of doing that by creating the impression you're trying to hide something. So I'd rather have a document that's as thick as it is, where we lay all the cards on the table, than to go and reduce the size of that document and generally take categories and merge them together. And in the process of doing that, you do run the risk of jeopardizing your commitment to openness and transparency. So we're going to be making some changes here that will address some of the issues. But let's not kid ourselves here. You do not run a county of this size and have a budget document that's something you can talk about in 1 or 2 minutes, which is why I made changes to the budget process so the commissioners would have more opportunity to engage in the process and more time to look at it. And like I said here, when we vote on it, when I proposed the vote on the night of July 23rd, it's a summation of over 7 months. We have put together a document, built a document with the commissioners, with the staff. They've had ample, plenty of time to ask questions about, and we'll still have in the next 2 meetings opportunities to make some changes to that budget, tweak, as I call it, tweaking it. But it's too late in the game for major changes. Once you start doing that, then I just believe you're just playing politics. This reflects what I heard in the town halls and my continued commitment to restore quality services to this county.
One of the things that was highlighted in Bill Volkman, our finance director's presentation, was the Brave Stadium and the taxpayers' funding of it, which has been decreasing as development pops up in that area. And we saw a prime example of development popping up in that area this week.
We did. The Home Depot, which I wasn't aware of this, I guess I should have been. Home Depot is a Fortune 500 company. It is the largest Fortune 500 company in Georgia. I didn't know that. And they're here in Cobb County. They've chosen not only to be here, but to stay here. And they open up another building where they're going to be bringing somewhere from 700 to 1,000 jobs. And they moved those people from other buildings they had, and they've already filled the space where they moved them from. There are 17,000 people who work for Home Depot that here in Cobb County. 17,000. And I believe that what happened yesterday, which was Wednesday, I guess, shows their commitment to stay here. And that commitment reflects their confidence in us that we're always going to be to deliver the quality service that they're looking for. Because a company of that stature, they're not going to hang around unless you reflect the same values and standards they have. And the fact that they are continuing to expand in this county, and in the process they're expanding because they're responding to the nature of the changing business they're in. That building is dealing with online services. And that they're going to stay here, I think there's no more greater testimony than you can have that the largest Fortune 500 company in Georgia not only wants to be here, but they want to stay here and they want to expand here.
Yeah. You've often mentioned how the relationship between Cobb County and the 6 municipalities in the county is a pretty smooth operation. And we got some big news from one of the leaders of one of those cities this week that you seem to be maybe a little surprised about.
Oh, the word is on speechless. I was at the State of the City address at Smyrna today, where Max Bacon gave his usual, very humorous. You got to love Max. But in the middle of that talk, he announced that he was not going to run for re-election. And I was so stunned by that because I was totally unexpected. I actually, turned to the guy I was sitting with at the table. I said, "Did I hear him just say he's not running for re-election?" Yeah. I said, "Wow." So Max was a generational visionary figure. His legacy, his father was the mayor when he was first elected to office, and now he took his father's place. That reflects a commitment, a long-term, 2-generation commitment to taking a town that was always a great place to live to make it an even better and more contemporary place to live. We're going to miss Max. He's not going very far. That man still has a large role to play in this county and for his city. And my hat is off to him. He was a true admirable character in many different ways. He's a true human being in every shape and form. I'll be sorry to not be able to sit on the boards I'm with him at, but I know that he's still going to be around with us, and I admire his courage that you have to know when to go out on top. And he's certainly doing that. And I wish him nothing but the best. And I know that I join all the people in Smyrna in thanking him for all he's done, not just to make Smyrna great, but by making Smyrna great, he made this county great.
Yeah. All righty, well, we have a couple of busy weeks ahead. You can follow everything on our social media networks here on YouTube, as well as our Facebook page, Twitter account, and cobbcounty.org as well. And Chairman, I know you want people to participate if they're interested in the process, so we'll have those dates for the final 2 public hearings coming up.
All right. See you at the board meetings.
All righty.